Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? I'm Justin Crumley, and this is CuJo's Corner, my little corner of the world where I talk about mostly sports, but really just anything. I'd like to start this by telling everyone out there to have a happy Thanksgiving. Be sure to eat lots of turkey, eat like a pig, watch lots of football. I will definitely be sure to. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just get straight into today's show. So, first thing I want to talk about is the Pats game this past Thursday. Thursday last week, actually. So, the New England Patriots absolutely manhandled the Atlanta Falcons. The score was 25 to 0. Before I get into the nitty gritty of this game, can we just stop and appreciate the fact that the Pats beat them by 25? The only way this could have been better if the score was 28-3. Okay, okay. I promise that's the only time I'm gonna make that joke. But really, can we not just appreciate the score for just a second? It is absolutely hilarious. It never gets old, but I promise I'll stop. So the defense had an early bite of the turkey. They shut them out, 25 nothing. They picked off Atlanta four times. I say it that way because they picked off Matt Ryan twice. They picked off Josh Rosen once, and I believe they picked off Atlanta's third stringer, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. One of those interceptions, I believe the one from Rosen from Rosen was actually a pick six. It was from Kyle Van Noy. I'll talk more about the defense in just a second, but real quick, I just wanted to mention Mac Jones had another pretty good game. He went 22 for 26 for 207 yards, one touchdown, one pick, but I think that pick came in like garbage time. It really didn't matter, so it is what it is. It's a pretty good game. Mac Jones continues to build his resume. Ramondre Stevenson also had himself a good game. He went 12 for 69. Didn't have any touchdowns or anything, but a decent amount of rushing yards. Still continued to more or less prove why the Pats are really high on him, why Belichick is certainly high on him. So, I mentioned the defense, and as I said, they had four interceptions. Adrian Phillips, J.C. Jackson, Devin McCourty, and Kyle Van Noy were every player that had a pick. As I mentioned before, Van Noy took his back for a touchdown, so welcome back, Kyle Van Noy. They also held Atlanta to only 40 rushing yards. So the defense, as I said, feasted on Atlanta as if they were a Thanksgiving turkey. Okay, I promise, no more Thanksgiving puns. Um, so the Pats are now 7-4, and the Bills actually lost to the Colts. So as of right now, the Pats are a half game up on the Bills. They lead the AFC East. This is huge. And to be honest, guys, with Buffalo losing to Indianapolis the way they did, they definitely look beatable. And Tennessee also lost to Houston this past week. So these next two games are Tennessee and Buffalo. Now, a week ago, I probably would have told you that they lose one of these games. In fact, I would have for sure said they lose one of these games. However, after seeing Tennessee lose to Houston and Buffalo lose to Indianapolis, I think these are winnable games. Now, I could be overreacting, but when you look at the way the Pats are playing, offensively they're playing really well. Defensively, they did beat Atlanta, but still, Atlanta's won a few games this year. They've they've had their games. I think both of these games are easily winnable. But again, Tennessee is the best team in the AFC right now, at least by record. So if we're able to beat Tennessee and go 8-4, that would be huge. But I'm getting ahead of myself. As a wise man once said, well, not quite the words, but we're on to Tennessee. Obviously, that wasn't the real words, but whatever. You guys know what I mean. So the question I want to put to you guys is, do you think they're going to win these next two games and go 9-4, or do you think they're going to drop one of them? Do you think the Pats, maybe like me, are riding a bit of a sugar high, and they're gonna, you know, they're gonna drop one of these games, or do you think they're playing really good? Everything's just firing on all cylinders, and they look dialed in. I don't know, guys. I'm pretty confident. I think they're going to win these next two games, but I want to hear from you guys. Do you think they're going to win the next two, or do you think they're going to drop one of the next two? Whatever you guys think, let me know in the comment section below. And with that said, we're going to move on to Michigan football. Now, there's actually a couple things I want to talk about with Michigan football, but let's start with the first thing. Michigan absolutely dominated Maryland this past Saturday, 59-18. Now, just for transparency, I'm gonna let you guys know up front. I didn't watch the game. I was hanging out with my buddies. We were playing cards. It was a fun night. We didn't really have any time to watch the game, and they ended up smoking Maryland. So everything I'm giving you is only because I watched the highlights, I read the stats. So I guess like what I'm saying. Sorry, I guess what I'm saying is my view of this game is a little bit skewed. So if I say something that sounds incorrect, you guys know why. I don't mention something. I probably didn't even see the play. So yeah. I'd actually like to. I guess I'd like to use that to ask a little bit about that. What did you guys think of that game? Like, did you think Michigan looked good? I will say this. I wanted them to put up a 50 burger on on Maryland, and they did. They dropped 59 on them. I'll get more into why I wanted them to do that in just a minute. So McNamara and McCarthy both played in the game, and I feel the need to mention that because I was wrong. I thought McNamara had done enough to start for the rest of the year, but one could also say that this game was this was Maryland. This was kind of a gimme for Michigan. I would expect to see McNamara play the entire game later this week against Ohio State. But I'll get to that in just a second. Anyway, McNamara and McCarthy both played in this game. They both actually put up some decent numbers. McNamara went 21 for 28, had 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. McCarthy went 5 for 5 for 58 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 19 yards and had a rushing touchdown as well. So they both definitely had a bit of a showcase, at least as far as how their games went. Hassan Haskins was 20 for 78 and 2 touchdowns. So once again, he had a really good game. But the real story with this game was Donovan Edwards. He had 10 catches for 170 yards and a touchdown. And he actually set a record in school history. Most catches, I think it was like most catches and yards for a running back or something. So Yeah, that five-star running back kind of flashing his talent a little bit. From what I gather, Blake Corum is supposed to come back later this week against Ohio State. I got to be honest, guys. I hope they mix in all three. Like, get some trickery going, kind of some speed and space. I really think Michigan can pull that off, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, so I had mentioned that I wanted Michigan to put up at least 50, and they did. Now, the reason I wanted them to do that was because of who they play this week, and it's rivalry week. I guess I shouldn't say rivalry week. I should say it's the game. Because this really hasn't been much of a rivalry in the past 20 years. But, doesn't matter. What happened 20 years in the past is irrelevant. Um, Focus needs to be on Ohio State. And look, I know I made a video talking about this, about like Harbaugh should be fired, whatnot. I know in that video, I know what I said. Look, guys, Harbaugh's got a chance to make up for that, loss against Michigan State. I'd be lying if I said I expect them to beat Ohio State. I don't. I still, gun to my head, I would still say Ohio State wins this game. But I feel like Michigan. I was listening to the Mike Valenti show at work, and he made this comparison. He said, this 2021 Michigan Wolverines team looks like the 2015 Michigan State Spartans. And I don't know what the consensus is on that with Michigan fans. I can't speak for Michigan fans on that comparison, but I have to admit, I think that comparison is legit. And I actually texted into the show, but unfortunately they didn't see it. Um, I, uh, I agree. I do agree. I think in and out, the team is very resilient. They're finding ways to win games that they shouldn't, and yeah, they had they had their bad loss against Michigan State. Michigan State had their bad loss in 2015. I think they lost to Nebraska. I think it was. So yeah, I mean, look, Harbaugh's got a chance to undo that loss. At least, well, not undo the loss, but undo the damage that loss to Michigan State brought at the time. If he wins this game on Saturday, and I maybe this is just the Michigan fan in me, but guys, I really think they can win this game. I think they can. I think they're a tough team. They're very resilient. Maybe I sound crazy. As I said, if there was a gun to my head and somebody made me pick, I would still pick Ohio State. If I was, I don't know. I know the line is like 8 on Ohio State. I don't know if I would bet that myself. But I don't really bet on sports, so that's not. I don't even know why I brought that up. But I just got this crazy feeling that I think they can do it. Now, I know that's kind of a crappy argument. It's not very convincing. But as I said, this team is tough. They're resilient. And yeah, even though they lost to Michigan State, and it was an ugly loss, and they blew a 16-point lead. It was ugly. I'm not going to debate the whole thing like officiating. The fact of the matter is they lost. But guys, it's not like they got blown out. It's not like they got destroyed. It's not like they got absolutely annihilated. They barely lost. They lost by 3. So just like I said, call me crazy, but I think they can somehow pull this off. Now I know Ohio State is incredibly talented. They have a Heisman candidate for a quarterback in C.J. Stroud. a damn good running back in Travion Henderson. Their offensive line is, from what I gather, it's pretty tight. Um, they're a good team, and they're going to be tough to beat. And God knows that they have been incredibly hard for us to beat. In fact, they've been downright impossible for a decade. They have not beat Ohio State since 2011. Now, 2 weeks ago, I had said something about I think Ohio State's going to break their foot off in their ass and they're going to put a bullet in the back of their head. Well, I don't think that anymore. I think if Michigan loses, they're going to lose. It's going to be close. I don't think they're going to give up 50-some points to Ohio State. I think if they lose, they're going to lose by 3 or 6 or maybe a touchdown at worst. I don't think they lose past 7 points. I don't think the spread is anywhere close. That said, I think Michigan can beat them. Cade McNamara, I mean, look, hasn't had a great season by any means. Hasn't shown himself to be a great quarterback by any means. But you know what? He has shown that he can take a game into his hands and he can win. And he can put up good numbers. And he can put up a lot of yards. And you know what? As much complaining as I've done about the quarterback carousel with him and McCarthy, if McNamara gets hurt, we have somewhat of a reliable backup. I know some of JJ's throws have been a little wobbly, but look, we have a reliable backup. I think we have a legitimate shot at beating Ohio State. Our run game is pretty good. We got a great thing with Hassan Haskins. He's proven that he doesn't need Blake Corum to be a force. Donovan Edwards played really well. Granted, he played well against Maryland, but doesn't matter. He still played well. And we know what Blake Corum brings to the table. I'm not discounting him by any means when I say that Hassan Haskins has proven that he can do it by himself. I'm simply just saying that Corum adds extra firepower to our offense. Ohio State has some damn good talent at wide receiver. They have Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. As I mentioned, they have a damn good run game with Travion Henderson. And they have a Heisman candidate for a quarterback in C.J. Stroud. This is not going to be an easy game for both teams. And it is going to be difficult for Michigan to game plan. But I will say this. If Harbaugh wants to keep his job, he has to win this game. And I say that because it's more than just the game. There are some stakes here. If Michigan beats Ohio State, they will be going to the Big Ten Championship. This game is for the Big Ten East. So, there are stakes in this game. And you can bet your ass if Michigan beats Ohio State and wins in the Big Ten Championship, they're going to the college football playoffs. They're going to be one of the 4 teams. I have zero doubt in my mind. So, all that has to happen. Harbaugh needs to win this game on Saturday. I will advocate for him to come back if he does that. Well, then he would have to win the Big Ten Championship. But one game at a time, let's focus on Ohio State. Now, as for the reason I wanted Michigan to put up 50 on Maryland, it was more or less just a kind of a showcase thing, like, hey, we're not just gonna win 30-0 and call it a day. We're gonna absolutely manhandle this team that we should, because kind of send a message to Ohio State, kind of thing. Like, we're not intimidated. And, hey, we're real. We're here. And if you're going to win, it's not going to come easy. Now, I do want to stress, if I was betting on the game or if there's a gun to my head, yeah, I might bet Ohio State if it's a straight bet, who wins the game kind of thing. Um, again, don't know if I would take it if it's like on the line thing. I don't like the 8-point spread as far as that goes, but again, I'm not a betting guy, so don't take my advice. Um, so, the question I want to ask you guys about Michigan is, do you think they'll finally snap their losing streak against Ohio State? Do you think I'm crazy? You think I sound crazy? I know I didn't give much reasons. I kind of just said, I have this feeling, but look, Harbaugh's back is against the wall. Michigan needs this win. And I'm pretty sure, like a shark that smells blood in the water, they know what's at stake, and they're preparing. And I'd be willing to bet they're going to welcome Ohio State into Ann Arbor, and they're going to win. I can see it happening. I think it's possible. I think Ohio State is beatable this year. However, I want to know, guys, do you think I'm crazy on that? Do you agree? Do you think Ohio State's beatable? Do you think they're going to come in and drop a 50 burger on Michigan again? Or do you think Michigan actually might be able to finally snap their losing streak against them? Whatever you guys think, throw it in the comment section below. With that said, let's move on to more college football news, but not about Michigan or the playoffs. This one is about our rivals. So, all the Michigan fans hoping that Mel Tucker would go to LSU or go to USC, looks like you're not going to get your wish. Looks like Mel Tucker's sticking around at Michigan State. Now, I don't know if this has officially been announced yet. I kept hearing about this last week when it wasn't like officially announced, but it was kind of one of those things. It was the worst kept secret. Michigan State is extending Mel Tucker for 10 years at $95 million. So, this actually makes him, right now, at the time I'm recording this, the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. It actually also makes him the highest paid black coach in sports. So, kind of a statement that Michigan State's making there. They really believe in Mel Tucker. They seem to have found their guy. And look, if I could speak to Michigan State fans from the perspective of a Michigan fan, actually, you know what? I guess I should say, if I could speak to Michigan fans, fellow Michigan fans, guys, we shouldn't be calling these guys little brother. We shouldn't be taunting them every year, making fun of them because, yeah, the rivalry is pretty lopsided. Yeah, we almost double their wins over in the rivalry. But look, fact of the matter is we keep insulting them. We keep making fun of them. Fact of the matter is, the last 15 years, they've kind of been handing us our ass. I think they've won the last, 11 of 15 or some shit like that. Something like that. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it's very disproportionate. So, you know how that happens? It's when you obsess over tradition and refusing to change and not taking your rivals seriously. That's what Michigan's been doing, and it's ridiculous. Well, maybe not Michigan. Well, Michigan. And I feel like as Michigan fans, we need to call that shit out. They need to start taking Michigan State serious because they would not give Mel Tucker this kind of extension if they didn't believe in him. And if they weren't looking to take a seat with the big boys. Now, We Michigan fans, we like to pump our chest out and talk about how fucking awesome we are, and oh yeah, we're all that, and this and that, and such, and yeah. Look, we haven't done anything since 2004, and don't look now. That was a long fucking time ago. It's about 17 years, if my math is correct, and it's usually not. Mel Tucker is 2-0 against Michigan. And he came in when Mark D'Antonio, for lack of a better word, kind of left Michigan State in somewhat of a wasteland. What Mel Tucker has done for Michigan State in 2 years, I mean, it's big. He's made Michigan State a legitimate contender, and I think it's time Michigan and Michigan fans, they start taking that serious. So, yeah, like, I think for the most part, Mel Tucker has earned this extension. And look, I think good on Michigan State, because you look at the way the contract comes together, it's not even their own money that they're paying. I think that it's like mostly some former alumni. So, yeah, that shows a general love for their football program, and I gotta respect that. And I think as Michigan fans, we have to respect that. So, with all that said, I think the expectations for Mel Tucker should be higher. Now, this is where I am going to be speaking to Michigan State fans a little bit, because this is about your coach. This kind of extension, you guys are making him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. I think if I was a Michigan State fan, I'd be holding him to the same standard that Michigan fans are holding Harbaugh to. I wouldn't expect Tucker to beat Michigan every year or beat Ohio State every year, but I would expect him to keep Michigan State competitive. I would expect him to keep Michigan competing for a bit. Michigan State, excuse me. Oh my God, Michigan State. I'm so sorry. Michigan State. I would, if I was a Michigan State fan. You guys can go ahead and rip me apart for that one in the comment section. I'm not even gonna edit that out. So if I was a Michigan State fan, I'm just saying, the expectations would be a little higher. I would expect him to help Michigan State, to have Michigan State be competitive. I wouldn't expect him to beat Ohio State every year, to beat Michigan every year, but I would expect him to beat Ohio State maybe twice out of 4 years, every 2 of 4 years, or every 3 of 5 years, or something like that. Just keep Michigan State competitive. Keep them competing for the Big Ten East. Get Michigan State to the playoffs. That's what I would expect if I were a Michigan State fan. With that said, I'm not a Michigan State fan, so that is the question I'm going to ask Michigan State fans out there. I'm not going to ask you if you like the extension or not, because I think we all know the answer to that. I'm going to ask Michigan State fans, what are your expectations for Mel Tucker going forward? Whatever they are, throw them in the comment section below, and we will move on to hockey. Unfortunately, I haven't really been looking forward to talking about this one. So, the Detroit Red Wings, who started off pretty hot, unfortunately went on the road, and for lack of a better word, things got a little bit cooled off. They lost 4 in a row. I think at the time I'm recording this, they have lost 4 in a row. One of those games being an OT, so they did get a point. But still, losing 4 in a row is not good. when you start off hot, it's not a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to fall into. In 3 of those 4 games, 3 of them in a row, up till that loss in overtime, they gave up 15 goals. In the first game, the first road game was against Columbus. They gave up 5. In the second one against Dallas, they gave up 5. And in the third one against Vegas, they gave up 5. Again. Now, to be fair, I don't know how many of those goals were empty netters. I know, like, maybe 3 of them were, but it doesn't matter. They gave up 5 in each of those games. They gave up 15 goals. You can't do that and expect to win games. You can't do stuff like that and make a playoff push. Now, before I get more into that, I do want to get into the Arizona Coyotes game. They led 1-0 for a majority of the game, but they gave up the lead in the third. Arizona managed to tie it. They sent it to overtime, and then they eventually beat the Wings 2-1. So the Wings got a point out of it. The only goal from them that night was Dylan Larkin. Now, little bit of a weird incident with him. He actually apparently popped positive for COVID in the Dallas game, but it was a false positive, so he was able to play in Vegas. I believe he might have had a goal, maybe a point in that game. I'm not sure, but during that stretch, I remember him having a decent stretch. I don't know though. I could be remembering that wrong. So I was looking at the Red Wings record earlier. Something I noticed was that they're 5-2-2 at home, and they're 3-7-1 on the road. In other words, they are a home team, and that's where they play their best hockey. Now, that's, I don't want to say like normal, because I feel like I'd be using that term a little bit too loose, but it is for the most part typical for a team to do better at home than on the road. But I think I was talking about it last week. But if the Red Wings are going to make a push for the playoffs, even if it's just a wild card spot, and if they make a push for the playoffs, it probably will be a wild card spot. But let's just say they're in a position to do so. Guys, they got to start improving on the road. They got to get it together. They got to start winning these games. They got to, in games where they have a lead, they got to put the puck in the back of the net more. I know it sounds simple. I wish I could give you more, but the fact of the matter is, if they're going to make a playoff run, they got to start winning the road games, because it's only going to get tougher from here on. And look, no one's expecting them to go to the Stanley Cup, and I might be crazy for even talking playoffs. Now, again, it's really early in the season. I don't know if it's fair to talk about playoffs, but I'm just saying, if playoffs is what they're thinking, they need to start winning these road games. They need to get better on the road. They need to start scoring more. They just need to play better. I mean, that's just all it takes. They got it figured out. They got the talent. They can do it. I mean, I know it's a bit of a disadvantage on the road in some places, because, to my knowledge, Tyler Bertuzzi is still not vaccinated, and he can't play in any of the games in Canada. I think that's like 8 games or something like that. Unless I'm mistaking how the laws work in California and New York, I'm not sure if he can play in those states either. I don't know. If you guys know more about that one, feel free to let me know. But nonetheless, whether they have Tyler Bertuzzi or not, they got to start winning these road games. if they want to make a playoff push. Now, again, I know it's a little early to be talking about that, but I'm just saying, if that's what they have in mind, they got to start putting the puck in the back of the net more. They got to stop giving up as many goals. Now, they didn't give up 5 against Arizona, which is good, but 3 games in a row where they gave up 5 goals, that's indefensible. You can't do that. So, I don't really have a question to pose as far as the Red Wings go. I really couldn't think of one, to be honest. So, my apologies, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the Red Wings and, yeah, kind of segue back into football, but instead of college or NFL, we're going to be talking about some interesting news. So, an old professional football league that was running in the 80s called the USFL is making a comeback this April of 2022. And the cool thing is, my home state, Michigan, is getting their is getting one of the returning franchises, the Michigan Panthers. I'll go ahead and flash the logo on the screen real quick. That's what the Michigan Panthers look like. Actually, there's a picture of all the team logos. They used to have when the USFL ran from 83 to 86. To be honest, guys, I don't know much about the USFL from 83 to 86, but what I do know is actually from 83 to 85 they folded in 86, but I don't know. They were only around for a few years. They had 18 teams. That's really all I know. So this time around, they're going to have 8 teams. One of them being the Michigan Panthers. Up next is the. I'll just go ahead and name them all. The Michigan Panthers, New Jersey Generals, Philadelphia Stars, Pittsburgh Maulers, Tampa Bay Bandits, New Orleans Breakers, Houston Gamblers, and the Birmingham Stallions. So, yeah, and I'll try to find all the logos for all the teams and flash it on the screen. I'm sure that won't be hard to find, just so you guys can see it better. Just so my words aren't because my words cannot do it justice. Some of these logos are really cool. I'm a graphic designer, so logos are kind of one of the things I got to work on. So I got to say, some of these logos are really cool. I really like some of them. A couple of them look really like retro, like really set. Like one of them, the stars looks kind of like something like out of the 70s or something. And I feel like the Generals one looks like it's a modern take on like a classic. It just looks really cool. It's really simple. I like all the logos, to be honest. I like the Houston Gamblers, how it's got the state of Texas and a G. That's really clever. The Michigan Panthers one looks really cool. I wish they'd drop the box and the script and just the Panther head alone with that awesome, like that maroon, brownish, and like that light blue, that icy blue. I love that color scheme. It's really cool. Yeah, I really like these logos. They're really awesome, and I'm looking forward to this. Like I said, I wasn't even born when the USFL ran in the 80s. It ran. Like I said, I think they only had a couple of seasons. I don't know, like, anything about the USFL. So, yeah, if you guys have some old stories about the USFL, anybody listening, I would love to hear about them. Like, go ahead and comment that. I think that's the question I'm going to throw to you guys about the USFL. Actually, there's two questions I'm going to throw. Three. There's three questions I'm going to throw to you guys. This is awesome. I can't wait to see where this goes. I really hope it does well. Um, and before I ask the questions, I do want to say I actually texted my dad when I was at work. I found out this news, and I texted him, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool." He got really happy. It was so he's really excited. I'm excited. Um, we'll see where it goes. But okay, so for the three questions I want to ask is, one of them is, were you around? Were you alive when the USFL was? Do you remember? I shouldn't say were you alive, but do you remember? That was a horrible way to frame it. I apologize. Um, do you remember the original USFL from the '80s? And what are some memories you have? Two, are you guys looking forward to this? Like, how do you guys feel about spring football making yet another comeback? And yeah, how do you just overall feel about it? Personally, I'm excited, and I hope the Michigan Panthers can do what the Detroit Lions can't, and that's win a championship. um, so yeah, I'm excited, but let me know what you guys think. And the last question I have is, if you are excited for the USFL's return, who's your favorite team? Who are you going to be rooting for this spring? You guys have heard of, so go ahead and throw it all in the comment section below. And yeah, so anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of CuJo's Corner. I I appreciate you guys listening out there. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on all the topics on the screen. Um, let's have a conversation. I love talking about this stuff with you guys. Uh, and I also want, before I go, I also want to say have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you guys are able to get together with your families and just have a hell of a Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of food, talk about a lot of awesome stuff, and watch a lot of football. That kind of stuff. Anyway, guys, until next time, I'm Justin Crumley, and this is CuJo Productions, signing out.